everybody. Super excited for reviews today. It looks like everyone's talking already over in the comments about what they're excited about for this week. Yes, it is indeed the week of the Batman and Deadpool, plus all the other crossovers that happen in that book. And a ton of other really cool books. It's a fairly calm before the storm for things like DCKO. I don't think there were any tie-ins this week, so don't worry, you'll be okay. And only one absolute title and a ton of Age of Revelation. So that's going to be chock full of good information. And the theme for this week is don't trust kids. Honestly, there's some crazy bad kids in these books. Scary scaries. You never trust kids? I trust my own kids. In general, kids are good, trustworthy things, but I don't know. Superhero kids, especially psychics kids, scary. All right, let's review some comics. This is. All right, our friend Joe Pruitt, who you probably know for his most well-known work, Black Eyed Kids, which is also about scary kids you should not trust. Don't sleep on DCKO Boss Battle. Boss Battle, yeah. So Viking Moon, the last issue, all you need to know is it was like really, really beautiful. Extremely beautiful. Great art. And it dealt with exactly what you expect, Vikings that have landed on, I believe, American soil. It's a thing that makes the most sense here because there are native peoples there. And at the end of the book, you got to also see, terrifyingly, that there are these giant werewolf people. So that's super scary. This issue kind of takes off from there. Our main Viking character realizes that probably his most important role is to go and warn his people, because we definitely don't want to have these things making it to their homeland. And there's a friendship that's kind of formed, or at least an understanding formed between a little girl that's from the Viking group and some First Peoples folks. And gosh, it's just full of terrifying things. If you like good spooky, this isn't like 100% like really super scary this time. It's mostly about beautiful vistas and just kind of like I don't know. This is just a really, really pretty book, y'all. I'm sure there'll be some terrifyingly throat-ripping outing parts later on. But for right now, they're still setting up some good storytelling. And at the very end of the book, there is somebody of historical significance that shows up from one of those groups. So don't miss it. Exquisite Corpses. This has been ramping up for a long time. As you guys know, the premise of the book is literally that there are these big mafia level families that all are vying for control over everything. And they have, at regular intervals, giant battles. Imagine if controlling families were playing Fortnite and chose a champion and a skin. Some of them are super scary, like this kid that like is basically a mass killer. Because last issue we saw one of the little boys ending up with this kid in a corn maze. I think it was corn maze. And someone doesn't make it out of there. And yeah, they're just like so scary. But the point is that they keep on kind of like pushing them toward each other in smaller and smaller, places where they can be. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's more other goodies. Thank you. I'm gonna go like this. So the idea is that eventually there'll only be one that's living, and then whoever's champion that scary, murdery, whatever, slashy beast, or it's really they're all people dressed up in costumes, then that person's going to be, or that group is going to be the leader of all the bad guys for I don't know how long. Because I didn't read the number 2, or I don't know, whenever it was actually told. But this one kind of like throws everything on its head, because the guy who's the game master, which I guess is not a permanent position, and just like in Hunger Games, you might not, if you don't do a good game, they might take you out. He does something that really pisses everybody off. So the entire series is all about ramping up the violence and gore and making it more and more scary for just anybody that's in the crossfire. I don't think that if you're in the way of what's going on, that you're safe, even if you're not the warring family's champion or whatever. So this continues to be really great. Thank you, Tynion, for this messed up thing. There's some cool variants this week too. Everything dead and dying is so heartbreaking. Oh my gosh. So to catch you up on this series, when we first saw the number 1, it was about 2 dads who have this little girl. They love her. They love each other. They live on a farm. They do farming things. It's kind of a small town, idyllic setting. One of them, it's their hometown. The first issue isn't at all about that they're 2 guys, but it kind of comes up in this issue. But at the end of the first issue, I think you've probably figured it out from the cover here, there is some kind of zombie apocalypse thing that happens, and it affects animals and people alike. And it looks like it's something widespread, because the outside world has done things just like in The Walking Dead, where they've like formed themselves little safe enclaves. The problem is that a lot of those safe enclaves have figured out that they still need food, even though a lot of the food that they would need is already tainted, of course, because they've been zombified. And so they are now in desperation going outside of their safe enclaves to go and try to find food. And that's, I think, why they end up in this guy's town. And these 2 guys have figured out that, one of them's already kind of a zombie anyway. So it's one unzombified dad and a zombified dad and the zombified kid. And at the end of the last issue, these people from this other place came and like shot up the town because they don't know any better. But this guy has figured out that even though they are zombies, as long as you keep them like fed, that everything is fine. That they don't try to eat you or bite you or whatever. And they are kind of themselves. They can't talk. They talk in like a zombie would, but he really loves them. And so he keeps on operating his farm the way he would normally. And weirdly, a lot of the people in the town that are zombified just continue on with their lives, kind of. So they are truly in that zombie state of like, pushing my kid in the stroller. That kid's a zombie also. So it is really about all of these outside influences coming in, and everyone that's in the town, or this one guy for sure, who's kind of taking care of everybody in the town, keeping everybody out, because he's like fine, he's happy the way things are, however weird they are. And no one else understands it, of course, because they're like, wouldn't you just kill all of the zombified people so you'd be safe all the time? So there's a big finale of this one where there's lots of things happen in this book. So it's really pretty like this. The art is like that, but it's gross zombie pretty. All right, there are so many stories in this book. I'm going to probably open up my copy so I can make sure to keep them in order. This is Batman Deadpool. This is Deadpool kind of like breaking the fourth wall on purpose, just like he normally does, and acting with Batman, but it's interesting. They like start the whole issue with this premise of like cosmic beings kind of accidentally falling into a romance, or like against their better judgments falling into a romance. And then it doesn't, not to be confused with Deadpool Batman, which was the last book, which was also awesome. So it's very interesting because it is about breaking fourth walls and really a lot of smack talking between Deadpool and Batman. But there are a lot of cool ideas that are put forth here. Some new characters that are created that are more additional, like you get to see some crossover characters that have happened before long ago. So if you were a fan of amalgam characters, you might be real happy this week. And then a totally brand new one that's part of this, and you get to see some Bat kids, which is cool. And then and the big bad that's part of the first story, which is really long, by the way. It's the book is mostly the main title, the Batman Deadpool, and not like the other stories are much shorter than I recollect the first book was, which had the first story was fairly long, but not as long as this one, I don't think. But the baddie is kind of real good baddie. Like this is Omega level baddie. And that baddie is tied to one of these two characters really tight. They may have had a movie with them at one point recently. So you'll like that a lot. And then the second story is by Snyder and Tynion and Josh Williamson. And it is a tale that brings together Doctor Strange and John Constantine. And it's just kind of like John thinking that the Sorcerer Supreme is somebody to come be messed with, but then maybe they just need to be working together. And it also includes a couple other characters just as part of that crossover. It is cool because there's a third eye situation here. And then I really, really loved Team Up You Didn't Know You Needed Till You Heard You Say It. Yeah, it really actually makes a lot of sense because they're both magic and mysticism and that kind of stuff. And I think also in that book it actually mentions like no, I'm gonna leave that alone. Okay, so then the third story features Wolverine, but the Laura Kinney Wolverine, and Nightwing, which is kind of cool because they both have they find themselves talking about their family situations and understanding each other fairly well. So this is not them as a battle against each other. It's really them working kind of together against a common foe. And it's very cool. The kind of bond, honestly, over their pets. Because I don't know if you remember, Laura has a pet Wolverine. And he's got that cute puppy that's like the three-legged doggy. So if you like pets, that's what they bond over. It's not a cutesy issue or a storyline. It's just that's the thing that they end up bonding over. And about their father figures, which is kind of cool. And then there's a really, really cute story about Harley and Hulk and a hot dog cart. And that's a very cartoony storyline, but it's adorable. And then I think, there's one that kind of snuck up on me and I didn't get to read. It says New Friends in Old Places. This one's a Miss Marvel storyline mixing with a really great story with Static. And if you didn't get to read last week's Static related book, I would hunt it down if you don't have it because it was really, really good. We sold out at the store. It was really great stuff, y'all. So, okay. So if you're hearing people about like Batman Deadpool, why would you buy it? think of it as like the ultimate what if. Like if you cross these two worlds over and you wanted to tell really interesting stories within it, that you were like, oh, I didn't think about how that would look crossed over or how much commonality these characters have. It really does a great job of making sense as crossover. It doesn't feel like a just throw these two things together and tell a story and then count your money. It doesn't feel like that. So I'm really happy they let all of these creators work in a very creative space together, because I'm sure that they've been thinking of their brain for years and years and years and years while both these companies said there's no way we're crossing over ever again. I have hope, honestly. Can you guys imagine if they allowed these two universes to cross over on the screen? I just think that would be, there's so many possibilities that they could use. Not even the stories that are written in here, but just things that would make sense. Truckloads of Money is awesome, and Cap and Wonder Woman, it's been your favorite. Yeah, that relationship story was like, oh, this would totally make sense. All right, Absolute Flash. I think that last issue, number 8, finally helped me like wrap my mind around everything that's going on, because it did give us access to all of the other have been Flashes before and where they are and what they're doing and how Barry fits into the storyline. And this book delves more firmly into that. And it's crazy because there's a part in this book, like I love how they've been using art to tell the story so much in the Absolute universe. Done, I would say, the most well and most utilized it the most in like Martian Manhunter. But this one, it's very clear from, there's some like some parts where you see Wally saying something, and then later on it looks like he's saying those things again, all the other things he said, but in a row or backwards, like in thought bubbles, like, oh, well, he said that before. And to me, it's one of those things. The idea is that he's moved through time with speed or something's affecting all of that. So, and then there's a baddie that is basically showing up to say that they're definitely going to use that to their advantage. So I'm loving it. Like it, yeah, kind of like a Time Echo, but it looks like I don't know if it's like they're like red, not even like thought bubbles, but just wait till you see it. It's just so cool the way that they've got it done. There are a ton of books this week that they just like, it was masterful laying out of thought bubbles or speech bubbles in non-traditional 9-panel. It's not like that, like big sliver things or Z art or whatever. And your eye follows in a just the most beautiful way. You know how it is when you read a book and it's like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be reading right now. Like last week, there was a book that I said, I'm going to help you out with it, because it was like, it read all the way across the page. And there were 3 different, like from point of view storylines going on. This week, it's none of that. And mostly just like, wow, who created this page that they just like kind of knew how to make your eye follow here and there and here and there when it's not panel, 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 panel. So, mad props to the artists this week that like really gave it all. X-Men of the Apocalypse. This is interesting. I feel like, remember last week they re-released the 4 little mini series were attached to the Apocalypse storyline. I can't remember I can't remember the 4 names of them, but it feels like they were kind of getting us all primed for this storyline, which puts the idea out that there were 2 timelines that are in competition for each other, but both existed, in which one of them was the storyline in which the apocalypse part happened. And then there's another one in which you have Professor X's kind of like more idealistic, like other universe happening at the same time. So the difference is that, so in this book, those 2 possibilities clash and are in competition with each other. So you have like the X-Men that you would have experienced in like the X-Men cartoon from the 90s, where it's Prop X and regular Wolverine and those guys. And then the Apocalypse versions of them, where you have Wolverine that's missing an arm. And I'm trying to remember what everything else is very different about that storyline. So it's very, very interesting how they're trying to work through this. It's not me, it's you. We're going to fight for our universe to be the right universe thing. It's kind of cool. I like that idea. All right. I picked my very favorites of the Age of Revelation that came out last cycle, the number ones, so that I could read the number twos, because there were at least one or two more this week, and I felt like if I read too many of them, that I might get them crisscrossed in my brain. Although I remember this week's release, or this release number ones, I liked all of them. When I did the review, I was like, all of these are so cool, the way they've got the characters developing. This was the one where you met the little girl there. I wish I could remember her name, and I'm so sorry. Who she gets taken by Revelation to be one of his scions, which are, not scion, sorry, seraphim. My brain's going to stop. One of those really awesome names. But so they're like his, like, think of it like his inner circle, guardians, trusted people. And one of them, which is that guy at the top there, he revealed himself in number one as being, he knows that he wants to be very important to Revelation. So he actually killed one of the other of his kind in order to have less of them, so that he would have more influence, whatever. And so she is she's coming in to kind of like, I think, take the place of that one. So now she knows this. She's also been exposed to a person who is there. You see her, she's the ghost of Kitty Pryde. But if this little girl is touching that ghost, then she has a physical form. Probably. It's one of those names that my brain will not hold on to. I'm going to have to say it a million times. Rebecca Voss. I like that name. So here's the first of the books of Don't Trust Kids. Okay. So in this book, she goes to tell on this other guy who's killed one of his own, tells Revelation, and brings along with her Kitty Pryde, which I think that probably it's a big mistake, honestly, because he does not like her being around because she's not part of their group. So this is kind of like what happens when you tattle. What are the motivations here for this little kid, which I guess is Rebecca, who is very, very powerful, by the way. Extremely powerful. She's looks like a sweet little kid, but she is more powerful than you should just do whatever you want. And there's a big thing that happens at the end that's just like, that when you read those books and you're like, I don't even know how I got fooled this bad. I got fooled so good. One World Under Doom. I think this might be the complete wrap up. I think every week is the last. Every time I see One World Under Doom, it is the complete wrap up. But in the last One World Under Doom, you saw the storyline in which Doom explains very clearly that he has kind of like one love in his life, and it's his goddaughter, Valeria. And he himself is surprised at how deep that love goes. And by his own admission, the only real love he's ever allowed into his heart. So There is something that happens in this book which forces his hand, and he makes like this really non-Doom like decision and sacrifice, and it's crazy good, y'all. Crazy good. You also realize just how powerful Doom is and how powerful a being he has to go and talk to find someone who can do something that he just can't do himself. So, like heartstrings will be played against, and this is, I think this is a good kind of like ending of that story arc. I can't imagine they could tell a story after this one that would make any sense. It would be like, you know, when you watch a movie, you're like, why did you have more movie? You could have just ended at that last little scene and it would have been the perfect end. But no, you had to keep on telling things and it was horrible. I mean, I'm not going to say the Running Man had, like, if they just ended 10 minutes earlier, it would have been such a better movie. But I will say that. I'm not going to hate on it, but I would have ended it 10 minutes earlier. All right, here's the other one that's going to mess you up. I hope you took my advice and got number one of this book. This is Tony Fleece writing his more spooky side, right? He's not My Little Pony. Friendship is magic. This is his Stray Dogs. Grr. Okay. So Omega Kids gives you a group of kids that are being trained by kind of revelation focused people to just kind of like, they're psychic. So they're like putting out their feelers, and all their whole job is to go and kind of find rebels so that they can be taken care of and or take care of them themselves. I think really they're just supposed to be finding them and telling on them. The guy at the very bottom there is kind of like their teacher, handler, mentor, I don't know. And as we found out at the end of the last issue, he's in over his head. So over his head. Those kids are going to do whatever they want. And they're Omega level, which I don't know if you guys remember, Omega is like as powerful as you can possibly get. So I kind of feel like when I'm reading this book that maybe they already have me under control, and what I'm reading isn't what I think I'm reading. And instead, I'm giving them all ice cream cones instead of sitting here and talking to you about these kids and outing them as being not great. But this one of the kids gets found out because her mom is actually kind of a rebel, but she's been hiding that fact from the teacher. Teacher has a lot of like discussions with another adult about like, I thought that I was doing all the right things with these kids. I'm giving them snacks and things to do and all that kind of stuff, but I think they just make fun of me all the time. So yeah, don't turn your back on these kids. And or if you could find like a Magneto helmet to protect your mind from them, that would be probably good. Or are you going to imagine that you can get yourself a helmet and you aren't really putting on a helmet? They'll just let you think you're putting a helmet on. How's that? All right. Nova. This is a really actually great book, y'all. I am not traditionally a Nova person, although Richard Rider is cool, and that's who this person is. So this is a story about Richard Rider, which I have a feeling like it's part of the main universe storyline that's going on, but he's so far away that I don't think he's affected by things that are going on Earth proper right now. His problem is funding. So he is himself the last vestige of information or whatever of the entirety of what's the name of those people? You know, I'm so good at remembering things until I have to say them out loud. Everybody knows it. Everybody's saying it right now in their brains. Of course, it's not going to be on the first page. Xandar, thank you, Xandar. So he is the only remaining person from Xandar, and or in their culture or peoples, everything. He holds everything in himself, or the helmet or something. He's activated the world mind. And okay, so he has, it kind of feels like what he's saying is he only has so much energy, but he has to like get more of it. If he runs out of energy, then he is the last of it. So it destroys the entirety of Xandar's information or whatever, right? And so he decides to, I don't even know if this is just, so he actually finds himself in a situation where he is trying to rescue this, we'll just call it a cruise ship in space, because that's essentially what it is. And it is being sucked into a black hole. And he uses really cool ways to do this, but the people that he saves are rich. And even though he asked, he was like, all right, I used up a bunch of my energy to be able to do this for you and save you, but I need money so I can buy more energy or I'm going to run out. And no one gives him any money. He's downtrodden. The book is mostly about that he has an interaction with a very interesting character that you will recognize this character as being kind of a side, very, very side character from other books. But he is, he basically pitches to Nova to be his agent because, you know, he comes to him and says, basically, you're doing it wrong. You have to ask for the money first. You have to do it ahead of time, which cracks me up. Totally cracks me up. I'm sorry. All right. Yeah, and that it sets up a whole new storyline, which is gonna be crazy. And it's Jed MacKay, so you should trust Jed MacKay to write really great stuff. So consider picking this up. Captain America, I know you guys are all waiting for this. I know you're waiting for this, and you should be waiting for this. If you have not started reading the Zdarsky run of Captain America, you are just robbing yourself of some crazy fun. So, when last we saw them, I do have a live show tonight, right after this one. We'll take a break and then we'll relaunch on us again, and it'll be the new show. Okay. So, you know, there are two Captain Americas here. One is one that did not go through the ice, who has been kind of like his main like event was 9/11, and he has been firmly working for the government for a long time. He's a good soldier doing his thing. And then Steve comes out of the ice about that time, and so there's like at first the first issues were kind of like, is there going to be a conflict? And then now you end up with like this really cool storyline where they are realizing that what they're being told to do, like sent out to do, isn't that neither one of them is okay with it really. But the thing that happens here in this book is it feels a lot like PTSD has taken over. This other kid's name is so simple, I'm never going to remember it. I'll say Dan, because Dan sounds like a good name for him. But the redhead Captain America, he kind of like loses his crap because he's been pushed too far and he's seen too much, and so he chooses violence. So there is a really cool thing that happens here because do you see the character that's on the far left there of the cover? That character shows up both as Iron Man and as Tony Stark. So you will be real happy about all the crazy stuff that happens and what happens to who and who that puts at odds with each other. And yeah, this. I thought I knew where all of this stuff was going, and I am real happy that I'm a dummy and I don't know. All right, Lion King. Fair warning, the beginning of this book looks like it's just literally gonna say, Bar-Lord, you might see some stuff that happens in the Captain America book that makes you understand how, oh wait, I thought this was like totally not being told in the universe that we're in for the main universe, and then you'll start seeing yourself go, oh wait, oh, okay. So yeah, this one's like a don't miss issue, I will say. Okay, so Lion King starts out just like part of the movie. It's, Simba learning a lesson from his dad. They use the exact same lines from the movie. But then it starts taking off into its own little story part. So it's stuff that's happening during the timeline of the movie. But this one involves such things as Dad needing Mufasa going to have the negotiation between the Hornbills and the Flamingos. They've got some kind of like problem they have, and I'll let you enjoy that storyline. And then after he's done with that, he has to also resolve this crazy thing where the zebras are freaked out because the leopards, who have been kind of like not really banned from the Pride Lands, but they're not allowed in the Pride Lands because they broke some rules. Hey, jerk! They broke some rule, and so this is him going and having to deal with that. The leopards look really dangerous. I don't remember any Lion King leopards in the movie. So I think all of that stuff is new material. The art is so beautiful. And it's interesting because I think there was only one person that worked on this book. So I think everything is one person. So Galmon, whoever that is, they did a really great job. It looks just like the Disney stuff. Looks like it would live in that universe. It's awesome. Planet Death. I'm sorry, that sounds so serious. Okay, this is issue 2 of Planet Death. These are really thick books. So although a lot of the panels are just full on fighting, slicing, stabbing, whatever stuff, it makes up for it by having lots of extra pages, which do have actual storytelling on them other than picture storytelling. So let me see if I can catch you up. There are a bunch of military guys who are taken to this planet and told one thing: destroy the machine and get to come home. Destroy the machine, get to come home. Destroy the machine, get to come home. But the problem is that on their way to the planet, they get shut down and all their stuff falls to the planet. So they're already not in a great place. And they pretty much get wiped out immediately, except for a very few of them. There's a few of these invading forces that are still around. We've got a few main characters that we're seeing the point of view from. I think the storytelling is exceptional because it starts to let you know now that although these are very vicious creatures and animals and stuff, that maybe there's a little bit about this is that they just don't understand what these creatures are doing. So, for example, the book opens with one of our main characters in his cool battle suit in a cave, and this creature comes and attacks him, and he might actually kill it or just critically injure it, but then he figures out the reason why this creature was attacking him. So I think he feels bad about that. And then you get to see some of the other characters that are dealing with their own situations on this planet. It really is one of those, is anyone going to survive this? I mean, it is called Planet Death, so maybe everyone's going to die, but you really want some of these, the main characters to, like, one of them is just like, sees flashes of his family. He just wants to destroy the machine and get home. But it's not going to be as simple as all that. Of course, it's not going to be as simple as all that. Can't be that simple. All right. For my friends that love Liam Sharp and love Conan and love Liam Sharp's Conan, this book is for you. It's 100% gorgeous. The cover is not even as pretty as the book is inside. So if you've been reading or seeing any of Liam Sharp's Conan work, including, I think, last week, number 11 of Savage, I think the whole thing was his, even though it had like a weird shipping error where they shipped the B's, like the B and the A cover got switched or something. So anyway, don't yell at your local comic shop. It wasn't their bad. In this one, you get to see this hardened battle guy. It looks a lot like Conan, honestly, who is finding himself kind of on the losing side, or he's up against a very big enemy that is kind of routing them. And so he decides to go and try to find, what was it called? Devil Spawn, which I don't know if the Devil Spawn is actually part of the Dark Ages original series, the Devil Spawn, and talks to him about, like, I know we are enemies, but I think our shared enemy is more important to get rid of. So what's interesting is the main character in this, he and his people, he's the leader of his people. He and his people are Christians, and the Devil Spawn is pagan. And so it's just like, how in the world would even any of that stuff work? It is so gorgeous inside. Just like, even if you just wanted to buy it and like use it as pinups, well, I would never say destroy a book, but buy 2 copies so you can, frame some of it. It's crazy good. Capes. So fair warning, this book is, I believe they said, a reprint of the original Capes #1 with some changed material. As I have never read Capes #1, I don't know any of this stuff. What is right? What is the stuff that has already happened and what has never happened? So it is attached to the Invincible universe. If you've been reading the Invincible books, or if you've been watching the show, I guess you probably have seen these characters, but I have done neither. So I came into this all fresh, and I will tell you that you don't need to know anything, and you can still enjoy this book without knowing anything at all. So it really follows this main character who's at the very top there. Machine Head at the front. Well, you're doing pretty good. So the main guy at the top there is kind of like, he's obviously, or at least it kind of makes it feel like he is the most powerful of all of the characters here. You get to see him show up. He's got it. Here's the interaction. He shows up. He's got a triple ice cream cone. Police officer's having a hard time dealing with a super big bad. And his name is Medallion, the bad guy. And this superhero just like hands the police officer his ice cream cone and says, "I'll take care of this. I'll be right back." And then is disappointed when the police officer couldn't keep his ice cream from melting, which is kind of funny. So what's interesting about it is that the Capes are actually part of an organization who have timesheets and have to clock in and out, and have an organizational thing where they like have trainees that come in and like get introduced into the group. It's kind of interesting, honestly, but it sounds like it's been around for a whole long time. And so the main character, he goes back to the office and basically tells them, like, add an hour to my timesheet because I was out before work and actually had to do this superheroing thing. So it's weird to see it be part of like an organized job. Kind of like, I don't know, The Boys is kind of like that, but I don't think they get paid. They just get anything they want. And so it introduces all these characters and how they interact with each other. The guy with the hammer there is related somehow to Thor, and it makes all sense all the way it's written. And it's a cool book. I liked it a lot. You should, if you like Invincible at all, I'm sure it's a great thing to jump into. If you already own one of these from back in the day, maybe you don't need it, but my guess is that he says there's 8 pages that are different, so take that. New game dispatch, kind of like that. Oh, you dispatch superheroes. Well, see, that's fun. Hey, Jeremy. And that's all of our books this week. Yeah, like, I think there are some graphic novels we're going to go through super fast. There's always room for ice cream. That's right. Over on CBSN, Dirk Manning is hanging out and making the chats. Let's see. It is your chance finally to get Martian Manhunter graphic novel, which is great because at my store, we have number 6 only. We have no more back issues at all. And I had so many of them. It's kind of crazy town. So grab those up. And what else is coming out? Ooh, Little Mega Man 2. Is this read on the side like that? No, it's normal manga. Sorry. I thought you had to read it sideways because that's the picture. TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures. You get your 6th volume of Turtles this week. Action Comics. This is the Superstar storyline. Comes out this week. Endless Night. Part of the cool Underworld at Mad Cave. And full of good spook. And, oops, that's the same thing as I just had in my hand. Lost Fantasy Volume 1 this week. I don't know if this is new or if I just ordered it because it looked really cool. The Bad Weekend tie-in to Criminal. And then Geiger Volume 4. That's worth running out for, honestly. Love, love, love that universe. All right, everybody. We're going to disappear for a second, and we're going to read up and come back. And we're going to do our regular selling of things, including, can you see all this crazy cool stuff I have behind me? So we're going to do new books, and then we're going to do that collection. But first, we're going to do the new comic books and the new graphic novels, so you're not going to miss anything. This has been a minute to skim it. Thank you so much for welcoming me back over to the network for this show specifically. And yep, tomorrow's Books Tuesday comes on next. See you then.